Okay, so hello and welcome to Codage VIT, and here I am with the most awaited video, I guess, for today's because this is today's POD, and I guess till now there are only 14 or 15 submissions done for this question, and trust me, though it's a hard question, but after the explanation you will realize like okay, I should have thought even this also. Okay, means it's not too hard to say. Anyways, let's not waste your time and directly move on to the question. The question name is valid customized Roman numbers. And don't go behind the story like there was a teacher assignment given to this, that, and all those nonsense things. Don't worry about this. Okay, straight away you should know about these rules like I represents 1, V represents 5, X represents 10, L 50, C 100, D 500, M 1000. Okay, and these are the rules which you have to follow. That is, see, if 3i represents 3, then if you're writing like this, see, writing numbers that decreases from left to right represents addition of the numbers. See, it represents additions. 10, 5, 1, so we have to add these things. Similarly, writing numbers that increases from left to right represents subtractions. For example, see this is 5 and this is 1, so it's increasing from left to right. So for that reason I have to subtract this. 5 minus 1 gives me 4. Similarly, see, this gives me 9. And moreover, you should even note these things. Maximum of two same small numericals can only be written to the left of a Roman numeral. For example, 8 can be written as either this or this. The thing which you should note is after if you're writing small numbers, then same small numbers, then they can only be written 3 times. But before x, if you are writing before something you are writing any small numeric value, same numeric values, then it can be written only 2 times. Okay, that is why you can see over here we have 3 i's and we have 2 i's over here. Okay, and they both are representing 8. Now this is the standard input and output format. The first line will be provided with your Roman number. Okay, it will be basically a string, and in output you have to just print its Arabic equivalents. So let's move on to the code. As the question says, they'll be providing us with the string. So this is my string. Now similarly, what I have to do is I have to reverse my string. Purposely, I have to reverse my string. Okay, why I'm reversing this thing? See, the thing is, in the question we have to even check that whether numeric value given to you is valid or invalid. For example, see, this is invalid. As I said, same numeric values can be written only 2 times before a particular value. See, x is greater than all these things, right? So obviously you have to subtract these numbers, but these numbers can be written only 2 times, not 4 times, so it's invalid. So I have to even write a code which will be checking whether a given string, given Roman string, is valid or invalid. So for that reasons I'm converting this string into reverse order. Okay, I'm reversing this string. Now see, use list is equals to I for I in string. So basically I'm creating, see, suppose if my input over here is xix. Okay, so over here k will become equals to xixx, and in this use list, I'll be having, what will I be having? I'll be having x comma x comma x comma I comma x. This is what I'm going to have in my use list. Now once this is done, I have to even create a dictionary, because see over here, see, I represents 1, V represents 5. So for this reason, for this conversion, I even need a dictionary to be created. Let me name it as dictionary use, and let me write. See, I represents what? 1. Similarly, V represents what? It represents 5. Then we have X with us, which represents 10. Then we have L with us, which represents 50. Then comes C, which represents 100. Then comes D, which represents 500. Then comes M, which represents 1000. Okay, so this is my dictionary. Now see, if VV in K or LL in K or MM in K. Now what I am doing, see, the thing is, this is my string, this is my K. Okay, so I am checking whether my K is having VV written 2 times or not, LL written 2 times or not, MM written 2 times or not. Now why is this? Why am I doing this? See, the thing is, you can't write VV together. It's a rule. If you go and browse it, it's a rule. You can't write VV together. Similarly, you can't write LL together. Instead of writing VV, can't we write X? Isn't it? instead of writing LL, can't we write C? That is why I am checking if my given K is having these numbers, then I have to print invalid. And not only this much, see, one more thing I have to check, if len of set of 1 colon min 4 comma len of K, len of K is equals to 1. In this case, print invalid. Now what does this line means? Okay, this is clear. Okay, this is clear. You might be clear with this VVLL. Okay, why I'm doing this. Now you would be having a doubt on this topic. Now see, the thing is, this is my K, right? This is my K. So what I'm doing is I'm slicing it from index 1 to the minimum of either 4 or length of K. Over here, length of K is 5. So from see, 4 is smaller than 5. So minimum of 4 comma len of K will give me 4. So starting from 1 to index 4, I have to slice it. That means from here to here, I have to slice. Okay, and what does set function does? Set functions basically finds out a specific values, a set of values, okay, which are unique. So in this value, what are the unique values? I and X are unique, right? I and X are unique. So it will be providing me with two values, I and X. Okay, so basically length will be equals to 2. Since 2 is not equals to 1, okay, so this condition will be false. And then it will be checking for other conditions, whether MM is there or not, LL is there or not, VV is there or not. But we can have XX. We can have XX together, but we can't have these numbers. Okay, if any of this condition satisfies, then in that case I have to print invalid. And one more thing I have to do, I have to create a variable proceed is equals to true. Okay, proceed is equals to false. Now why I have created this variable, you'll just come to know. Okay, now see, once I have checked my whether given string is valid or invalid, next thing is to do is, if suppose the string is valid, so next thing which I have to do is the Roman to numerical conversion, Arabic equivalent conversion, right? So for this reasons I need this Boolean expression proceed. Now see, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a variable I, use list -1. It basically gives me how many indexes. Suppose in my use, see, this is my use list, its length is 5. So 5 minus 1 will be 4. Why I'm using this, storing this 4 in I, so that I can get my elements from their index, respective index. Suppose, see, value of I is 4 in this case. So what I will be doing is I'll be taking this index, and then I'll start converting them into their Arabic equivalents, whatever it is. What is this? Let me see. Arabic equivalent, yeah. Now see, once I got my this, let me create another variable, final answer 0. Okay, now see, if proceed is equals to true, so here basically I'm using my this Boolean expression proceed. Okay, if proceed is false, then there is no need to do the Arabic equivalent calculations. You can just print invalid and move on. But suppose if proceed is equals to true, then see, while I is greater than or equals to 1. Now see, be careful what I'm writing. DICT use list is equals to control V I minus 1. What does this mean? Let me consider the example x. Okay, suppose this is my example. Now see, what is the value of I? What will be the value of I? Value of I will be over here 2. So see, this is my second index and this is my first index. So it will be checking whether these two terms are equal or not. If these two terms are equal, then what do I have to do? If these two terms are equal, so final answer plus equals to control V and I minus equals to 1. What I'm doing over here, suppose these two values are equal, then what I'll be doing is in my final answer I'll be adding the numeric value for this term. For x, what is numeric value? 10. So 10 will get added in my final answer, and I will subtract my value of I by 1. Why I'm subtracting my value of I by 1? Because see, this calculation for this part is done. So why should I bother about this part now? Now I have to move on to index 1. So that is why I'm subtracting it by 1. Okay. Now see, once this is done, elif control V is less than this. Now what does this mean? Let me consider another example. See, suppose if I have xi. Now see, this term, the value of this term, see, dictionary use inside square brackets use list I. What does this gives me? It basically gives me the value of this particular term. See, what is the value of I according to my dictionary? Value of dictionary I is 1. So over here I can write 1. Okay, it gives me it's basically checking whether 1 is smaller than the value of x or not. So obviously value of I is smaller than value of x, then in that case what I have to do, see, in that case final answer plus equals to this. What does this mean? See, as we know that, see over here in the rules it was written that, where it is, writing numericals that decreases from left to right represents addition of the number. Now see, if you move on left to right, these numbers are decreasing, right? It's a decreasing number, it's in decreasing order. So I have to do addition. That is why I've written plus over here. Okay, and similarly over here I have to write -1. Now once this is done, now let me move on to my next condition. Elif control V. Now let me write another example over here for this. Suppose if I have IIX. Now in this case, see, over here you can see this term, okay, the value of x is greater than value of I, isn't it? So in this case, what I have to do? In this case, I have to also check whether this I term, this term and this term, whether these two terms are equal or not. If these two terms are equal, then what I have to do? Then in that case, see, so see what is this? It's basically 8, right? How I got to know that it's 8? Because in the rule section it was given that writing numbers that increases from left to right represents subtraction. See, it's increasing from left to right, and this is 10. So 10 minus 1 gives you 9, minus 1 gives you 8. So for that reason I have to check this term and this term also. If these two terms are equal, then I have to subtract them all together. So let me write it first. -1 -2. What does this mean? See, I over here suppose value of I is 3, value of I is 2, so this is my second index, and I minus 1 gives you what? 2 minus 1 gives you 1, so this value of this is greater than this. Similarly, value of this is equals to value of this. Okay, so it satisfies this condition. Then in this case what I have to do? In this case my final answer will be -1 -2. See, as I said, dictionary, what will be this? It will be value of x. Value of x is 10. 10 minus value of the previous term. See, value of this term is what? 1. Similarly, value of this term. Okay, so what is value of this term? It's 1. So 10 minus 1 gives you what? 8. And that is what the value of this term, isn't it? So this is exactly what I'm doing. And over here, I'll be subtracting my I by 3. Why I have to subtract my value of I by 3? Because in one go, I have done the operation for 3 terms altogether. In previous cases, see, I was adding only one value of one term. Only value of one term was added. But over here, value of 3 terms are calculated and they are added in my final answer. That is why I'm doing I minus 3 over here. Now similarly, see, suppose if let me consider example. Suppose VIX or wait, suppose LDM. Suppose this is the case. Okay, now see, the value of M is greater than value of D, and value of D is not equals to value of L. Basically, value of D is greater than what? Is greater than value of L. So in this case, what I have to do is, let me show you what I have to do. So in this case, final answer plus equals to control P minus control P -1. So in this case only I'll be calculating the value of M and D, and I'll be adding it in my final answer. See, what is value of M? Value of M is 1000. What is value of D? It's 500. So 1000 minus 500 gives you what? 500. So 500 gets added in my final answer. And once this is done, this time I'm subtracting my value of I by 2, because here values of 2 terms are calculated and they are added. Okay. Now once this is done, see, let me come out of my while loop. Now one more thing which you have to note is, while this while loop goes up to 1. Why does it goes up to 1? Because see, suppose if I what I do, suppose if I consider value while I greater than or equals to 0. So in that case, suppose the value of I is 0 over here, so 0 minus 1 gives you -1. So it will keep on checking this term. It will check for -1, then it will check for -2, and it will be the while loop won't break. That is why purposely I started my while loop up to 0. Okay, the limit for my while loop is greater than or equals to 1. So over here what will happen? Always the value which is at index 0. See, at index 0 I have this, so it might get left sometimes. So for that I have to do, if I is equals to 0, and if kind of 0, and this is 1. Okay, now see what I'm doing. Suppose if my value of I is 0, okay, what does this mean? At this index, what I'll be checking is the value of this index, whether it is less than or greater than or equals to the next index. Okay, that is why I've written C, value of value at 0th index and value of 1 index. Okay, so if it is less than, the previous one, then obviously minus equals to control V 0. I have to subtract this. Why do I have to subtract this? Let me tell you. Suppose let me consider this example. Okay. Suppose let me consider this example. Now see, this is the term at 0 index and this is the term at first index. Okay. So value of the term at 0th index is less than the value of term at first index. So in this case, what I have to do? I have to subtract this value from this previous value. That is why I've written minus over here. Okay. Now similarly, if greater than this. Suppose the value which is present at 0th index is greater than value at first index. Okay. For example, suppose this is the example. So in this case, what tell me? In this case, what I have to do? In this case, I have to add these numbers. Okay. In this case, I have to add this number because this represents 11. How I got 11? 10 plus 1 gives me 11. So see what I'll be doing is final answer plus equals to this. Now once this is also done, similarly sometimes these values can also be equal to each other. For example, see, if I have x over here, x, what does this mean? These two values are equal to each other. So in this case, what I have to do? In this case also, I have to add these numbers. Control C, Control V. Now once this is also done, what I have to do is just print my final answer. Final answer. Control C, Control V, Control V, else print as print this. Why I've written else? Now see, suppose in this elif condition, suppose if the value of I was 1, okay, and it came up to this condition. So 1 minus 3 gives you what? Minus 2, right? It's not equal to 0. So for that case, just print this final answer. Okay, just print this final answer. That's all. So let's run this and show you the outputs for various values. X, ix. It gives you 39. You can cross check. See, x, ix gives you 39. Similarly, let me consider another example. Let me go for what? Let me go for x, ix. It gives you 48. See, x, ix gives you 48. Okay, so you can keep on trying for different values. This is the correct code. Okay, it's of around 45 lines. I could have gone for a smaller code using stacks, but it won't be much easy to understand for you. That is why I've taken you to a longer way to explain this. The main logic, the base of this entire code is over here. Okay, this is the entire logic. Which I have followed to get the the Roman to Arabic expression, Arabic equivalent values. Okay, and this if part is necessary to get the valid output. Okay, valid or invalid output. You can even find this from internet also, but you won't find this anywhere on internet. Okay, so that's all for today's code. Okay, it might be hard to understand, trust me, but it's not that hard. Okay, if you'll watch this video again, I know you won't watch this video again, so I'll be providing you the PDF. Okay, I'll be providing you with the PDF which will be having the code written in it, and so from there you can get the code. Okay, so thanks for watching. Stay tuned with Code VIT.